Hello and welcome to the studio. I've used a looper in my live shows for a long time now. Me and my boss RC30 are best friends. But there's one really important thing that I've learnt that I really want to share with you in this video. And that's how to keep the audience and yourself interested and engaged. And the best way to do that is to try and use as many different textures as possible by emulating different instruments. Now, I'm not talking about using random synth 8-bit pedals or compression, sustain. It's just the guitar that we'll be using in this video and nothing else. And the looper, I suppose. I have touched on some of these videos before, but we've only really dipped our toes in. And you can see me use these in my cover videos. But if you watch this video till the very end, there will be a little clip of me using some of these techniques in a cover that I haven't uploaded yet. Now this video is part of the ongoing loop-in series that I started a little while ago. If you want to learn more about loop-in, you can watch the videos here. And don't forget to let me know what you think of the video by hitting like, and if you want to hit subscribe, it lets me know that I'm heading the right direction with this channel. Hi. So drums. When you think about the way that a drum makes its sound compared to a guitar, it's kind of similar but not quite. They both have an initial attack, but with a guitar you've got a steady decay after it, which means the note gets quieter and quieter. With the drum, it's almost like a clap. It's a quick hit and there's lots and lots of space in between, apart from cymbals obviously. But that space in between is very important because it leaves us free to kind of keep adding layers without it feeling too claustrophobic and kind of over the top. Now, I approach my Beat Factory with 3 different distinctive sounds, or I try to at least. One is emulating the kick drum, one is the snare drum, and one is the hi-hat. Now with the kick drum, all you got to do is hit the strings. If you hit it in different spots, you get a different tone. Now what I've noticed is certain rooms and certain venues, I can hit the strings and it will resonate differently in different rooms. So I'll find a place to hit them where you don't get a big boomy kind of feedback with it. So what happens is the sound will bounce off the walls in different ways. They'll come back to you, and depending on the shape of the room and what the surfaces are like, you get a different frequency that comes back. And if it keeps kind of getting layered and layered and layered, that's when you get like feedback, or that's what I've noticed anyway. Now the next in the Beat Factory is going to be a snare drum. Now with the snare drum, you need to rest your fingers on the strings, dampen the strings and strum. Now I focus on the thicker strings for a snare drum. I'll explain why when we get to the hi-hat in a second. What you got to be careful of is you don't get this, where you get a particular frequency ringing through and resonating a little bit too much. That's because your finger would be on a harmonic point on any of the strings. Now to get rid of that, you can either avoid the loudest harmonic points, fret 12, fret 5, fret 7, fret 9, between 4 and 3. But just in case, just rest all of your fingers on all of the strings. You don't just want 1 or 2, you want all of them on. Spread them out a little bit, and that will stop the whole string from vibrating whatsoever. Now to emulate a hi-hat, you do the same thing for a snare, but I focus on the thinner strings. And I tend to keep my fingers up here quite a lot to shorten the string as much as possible. It gives a thinner, kind of brighter sound than that. So when you hear them together, there is a bit of a difference. Some people don't really think about this. They think of damping the strings. They'll just do a standard kind of beat. I like to hear differences with it, so I don't know, it just adds extra bit of texture to it really. To loop it all, I don't tend to do it all in one go. You can, but like I said, that limits the amount of kind of texture we've got, so I tend to loop it like one at a time. So I do the beat first, then the snare, and you've got a little bit more kind of texture with it then, which leaves you to do it whatever it is that you want to do. Now, when it comes to emulating drums, it doesn't stop with just the sound that you make when we're just trying to copy the same sound we can hear. You can also apply the kind of rhythmic rudiments, I think they're called. Don't shout at me, drummers, for getting some of this wrong. So things like paradiddles. But it doesn't have to be just rhythmic. You can do it with notes as well. So the way that I approach it, I treat the left hand like my thumb, and right hand with my fingers. So then it becomes something, I don't know, you could do something random like if you don't know about paradiddles, you can look up a drumming tutorial. Now, I've spoke about polyrhythms before when you've got two different type signatures going on, but you could also take that a step further and you could kind of dip your toes into more irregular subdivisions. So like 7s and 3s, or 3s and 7s, whatever you drummers like to call it, whichever way around you like it. Basically, my thumb is going to be doing 7/8 and my fingers are going to be doing 3/4. I know that's a little bit sloppy, I haven't drilled it all that much, but it's just an example of how you can apply some drumming rudiments to the way that you play. Now, the other instrument that I want to talk about emulating is a piano. Now, comparing the sound of a piano to a guitar, they are very similar. They both have an initial attack and then decay over time. The difference is when you strum a guitar with a plectrum, the notes don't all sound at the same time. Because the pick needs to travel to the next string, and the distance between the strings gives a little bit of a delay. That's what gives this the strum. That with the piano you don't get that. You just have an instant all at the same time. Now, to get close to that, all you've got to do is not use a plectrum, just use your fingers and pluck all at the same time. But that's not the only thing that makes the guitar different to a piano. The piano is quite a linear instrument. It's all in a row, it's all in one line. You can see the notes. When you play a chord in the beginning, they are grouped in a way that they're just in order, the same order as an arpeggio. So if I was going to play a C major 7 chord, I'd play C, E, G, and B. And they're all quite close together. They're either a major third or a minor third away from each other. On the guitar, the only way to do that is to choose a voicing that goes up in the same order, but then we're a little bit restricted by the amount of notes that we can play. If we play the guitar in the same order that we play the piano in a chord, we end up with that kind of shape, and then we run out of space. We run out of fingers, we run out of space. So the tuning of the guitar is a bit restrictive, so you can't really, you can't get all of the notes from a particular chord. The other thing that makes a piano different from a guitar is a full 13th chord, as an example, is impossible on the guitar because we don't have enough strings. We can't play a full 13th chord. We don't have enough for the root, the 3rd, the 5th, 7th, 9th, 11th, and 13th. That's 7 notes. So it's just impossible. We just can't do it. But we can try to get close. Now, there is another instrument which I tend to emulate quite a lot, which is strings. I use a violin effect to add like a wash of colour over whatever loop that I'm doing, whatever song that I'm doing. But I've gone through that in a previous video. I didn't want to go over the same thing and just say the same stuff again. There's examples of me using it here, but I just didn't want to go over the same ground. So as promised, I'm going to leave you with a little clip of a brand new cover which I've never played before, but it's one of my favourite songs. I love doing this one. I put a little kind of different quirky spin on it. It's not perfect because I've decided not to spend all day recording a perfect song. No one wants to see that. You want to see me struggle.
Show
Bye.